People like Nigel Farage and, of course, any of the UKIP people, to the Brexit Party, to even, of course, Reform UK's hypocrisy when it comes to the EU, or basically really not liking something and then absolutely loving to use it when it comes to their defense. The Daily Mail, of course, also springs to mind in that, where it, of course, recently used not too long ago the European Court of Human Rights as a defense and called on the European Court to defend its right for a story that it printed. Interesting that when they're often so constantly running our articles about how much the UK should be out of said convention and it should leave this. Well, of course, today we've got one such another hypocrite. The UK's probably biggest bell end there is, of course, Darren Grimes. He has put forward his very first ever piece of policy that he wants to change. He wants to change how councils punish members who, shall we say, speak out against certain things. Because if you are a councillor, what would normally happen, different to an MP, but you are a councillor, and let's say you say something offensive. It is not the local party that deals with you. It is actually the council and the council officers. And then they go, okay, what did you say? Does it break the law? They have a whole procedure that they go through to decide whether that councillor gets the boot or not. And Darren Grimes has now decided he wants to try and change these rules, and it has passed, by the way. Again, shock horror, but that's what happens when you have a majority on these councils. And as you will see, in the way that Darren has worded his proposal, he wants these future probably cases that he gets involved with, because he's very prone to saying some weird and wacky stuff, shall we say. So if he does get dragged before one of these tribunals again, that next time he can have Councillor Darren Grimes say it in front of his name and say, you see, but I passed this law which says I'm allowed to say offensive things. Yeah. You can see where this is going to go with a lot of other Reform UK stuff as well down the road. So, as always, please let me know what you think. Of course, don't forget to leave a comment about all this other stuff. And of course, don't forget to hit the like and share button down below. There is, of course, my Patreon page. There's the Buy Me Coffee link. There's the YouTube thank you button. And of course, as always, there's the YouTube membership button down below as always. So thank you very much to everyone who does help and support the channel that way. And of course, now let's kick into this, shall we? Let's find out more about old Darren's little Hippocratic oath or Hippocratic madness he's got in here, because Darren has long, or Grimesy, should we call him Grimesy or Darren? I don't know. We'll call him Grimesy. Has long protested against the European Court of Human Rights. How about it's a massive waste of time, that it's completely bent, it's corrupt, and that the UK should just throw it in the bin and leave it. Never mind, of course, the consequences that would come with that. But he has advocated many times. As you can see here, there's just an image here of him advocating to leave it on GB News when he was a GB News presenter. Desperately trying to get back on there, aren't we, Grimesy? But this is what he had to say, and this is what he tried to pass. So, Reform now Deputy County Council leader Darren Grimes, who had previously described the European Convention on Human Rights as now utterly bent, is now planning to use it in a move which will now make it easier to dismiss complaints by voters. Because, again, this is what he is trying to do. The last time he got caught on this was just a couple of weeks ago. Well, a month ago now, I think it was. We had said it, but the council went, well, look, he'd said this under his media personality name of Darren Grimes. It wasn't as Councillor Darren Grimes. He didn't like the fact that he got brought up by this, that this was a complaint by voters. So he's now trying to, shall we say, bring this in so that he can say stuff as with councillor in front of his name in the future, and just go, you see, this is just freedom of speech. So Let's get on to this. So, beard removal is now torture under the ECHRH. Grimes complained just on the June the 25th. He's also claimed that the ECHR now still runs our borders. He has mocked Keir Starmer as the ECHR's biggest fanboy on the world stage. Grimes, of course, made no secret of his desire to, of course, quit the framework, writing back in 2024 that to leave the European Court, please wake up of how serious this is for our democracy. But of course, he now sees that the ECHR's biggest supporter, at least on the council stage, when it suits. On June the 16th, at the full council meeting, Grime will now present a motion in which he calls now to incorporate the principle that there is, quote, there is no right to be offended by lawful speech into the council's code of conduct, and argue that councils are democratically mandated representatives, which constitutional duties, which are not subject to workplace restrictions on hateful speech. Again, because that's what caught him last time. And of course, prevent supposedly vexatious standards proceedings against councillors for controversial or lawful political views. The amend now complaints procedures to give particular regard to enhanced protections for political speech when assessing complaints against councillors, to call now on the North East councils to adopt very similar measures to prevent misuse of standard procedures to silence legitimate political debate. But the provision, of course, which really stands out is when assessing complaints involving freedom of speech expression, particular regard shall be given to the enhanced protection afforded to political speech under Article 10 of the European Court of Human Rights, and of course the democratic mandate of elected members to representatives of diverse viewpoints within their communities. So Article 10 gives, of course, protects people's rights to hold their own opinions and to express them freely without government interference. This convention is, of course, overseen by the Council of Europe and enforced and undertaken by the European Court of Human Rights. So, gee, really strange that you suddenly want to do this. But, of course, this is the other thing that you wanted to do is here. Again, instruct the monitoring officer now to implement all these amendments with immediate effect, again, so that he can't be, shall we say, investigated for anything else he might have said in the past, and of course review the standards and complaints procedure to ensure consistency and enhance with all these freedom of speech protections, trying to call on other local authorities to also lead into that protecting democratic discourse, prevent the misuse of standards proceedings to try and silence legitimate political debate. Basically try and protect himself so that he can try and say, oh, this is just lawful speech. So in the future, if he does say again something just a bit wacky or crazy, you know, you can come out and say, oh, but that was just lawful political speech, you know. Again, using, of course, Article 10 of the European Court of Human Rights to defend that notion. Highly, highly hilarious that he is actively acknowledging that. And I will not be too surprised if in the future, he tries to do that. And remember, last time, of course, he got caught out on this and got caught by the council providing officer. The council turned back and said, well, he didn't say this on his Twitter account where he's like, councillor, Darren Grimes. It was just Darren Grimes. He said this is a media personality. It's not, seems to be associated with his stuff as a councillor, which, okay, fine, fair enough. But he's trying to do this so that, in the future, he can say it. It's obvious from everything that he's trying to say here. Because he knows in the future, potentially, he might want to say some, extreme stuff and, not lose his nice, cushy little job that he now has since he got fired from GB News. So, as always, let me know what you think about all this. And, of course, as always, let me know what you think. And, of course, don't forget to hit the like and share button, all this. And, of course, don't forget to ring the bell. And, of course, we'll see you all next time.